Another member of our community is Tristan. Tristan Lury leads a little organization called Bridge the Gap Football, seeking to bridge the gap between particularly young men and church through playing football. He's been doing that for the last few years. We absolutely love Tristan, and would you welcome him now?
Joshua 1, verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Each day when I leave the house, I don't know about you, I'm probably checking if I've got my keys, my phone, and whatever I need for that day. However, when we face the day, there's moments of breakthrough, there's moments of challenge, there's moments of difficulty when we're facing decisions we've got to make or the circumstances we're currently facing in our life. But it's our thought in that moment that we take God's presence with us wherever we go. When we unpack this verse, it speaks about being strong and courageous. Another translation says, be bold and courageous. Joshua in this moment is about to lead the Israelites into the promised land and is actually being called to be strong and courageous in this moment, to have bold courage, not in what he can do as a leader of this community, but in God. There are many times where I'm sure we do feel afraid and discouraged in life, and we take a step out of that door. And sometimes we actually take on the day in our strength. There's many times I've looked at my life and I've done that and I've found that this isn't sustainable. Whereas where it says, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, if we actually flip this to wholeheartedly trusting that God, in every single circumstance that we face in our life, actually, when we step into his power, his strength, his bold courage, wherever we go, this is what God is calling for your life and for my life. It's important to recognize that God doesn't promise us a life without struggle, but he promises that his presence will go with us wherever we go. So how are you bringing the presence of God in your life and the decisions that you make? I remember in May 2020, the charity I run had £297 in our bank account. And I, thankfully in that moment, actually didn't know exactly how much was in our bank account, but I knew it was pretty bleak at the time. And I actually, I remember going for a walk with a friend, and I was saying to them, I'm probably going to have to get a job, just finding whatever that is, whether that was just trying to find somewhere, just for the time being, just to earn some money. And actually, in the time, there was a boldness inside of me that what God had started, I truly believed that he had not finished yet. The good news, as John said, we're still going as a charity. And back then, actually, there were some building blocks that enabled me to continue to step out in boldness and to trust that God is in control of each decision that I make and the circumstances that I'm in. A few of these, when I look back, is when I was at university, friends would ask me about my faith, and I'd be bold and I'd talk to them about what my faith meant for myself. So when I was working at Southampton Football Club, I invited as many as I could, but quite a few of the colleagues to Alpha. And quite a number of them ended up coming. And then I remember then leaving my job working for Southampton Football Club, knowing that I was going to get a paycheck every single month, to then pioneering and starting this brand new charity, to then navigating through COVID and being on furlough, to launching new locations across the country with other churches, to then hiring staff, to growing from one location to 19 across the country, and ultimately to seeing people come to know Jesus across the UK. This is my story. Certainly not everyone here is called to start a charity, and I truly believe that for each person in this room, that God wants to partner with you. He's calling you to be bold and courageous. My encouragement is to start somewhere. These are a few people in our community that I think are bold and courageous, and one of them is Emily Stewart. God called her to step into prison chaplaincy where she was shocked when they trusted her with the keys to the whole place. But when God calls you into a place, in this instance full of brokenness, to bring joy, redemption, and hope, he doesn't just give you a key, he gives you abundantly more. I think of Alison Carley, who God called her to leave New Zealand and move to England, to start from scratch, to find a new church, and to pursue her calling as a therapist, supporting people with mental health. I think of Tom and Jenny, about to step into this new venture in Lord's Hill, how practical that is, but the bold and courageous that you have to step into this new place, to see transformation in people's lives. I think of Ben Bortry playing in the university football team, but taking a stand against the culture that didn't actually stand for his values that he stood for. Ordinary people being bold and courageous, seeing a radical impact. When we look at Jesus, he modeled this life of strength and courage, but actually also intimacy with the Father. Before he started his ministry, he went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights to fight temptation from the evil one. In many miracles, feeding the 5,000, healing the sick, to dying on the cross and giving up his life for you and for me. That is courage. That someone who knows his Father in heaven is with him in every moment of every single day. So as we come into land, how is God calling you to be bold and courageous? If we truly believe today that we serve a God that is all-powerful, what are we praying for as a community in bold faith? Maybe God has put something on your heart and is calling you this morning to be bold and courageous. Or you're sitting here thinking, you know what, I'd like that to be me. I'd like to be more bold and courageous, but I actually don't know how to do that. Maybe this morning it's time to simply ask, God, use me. God is calling us to be a church that is bold and courageous, to be a community that steps out in bold faith as the Lord, our God, will go with you wherever you go.